I just had to like rant about really quick and like tell you guys like my first-hand experience with this character, because he is so much fun. He is so much fun, and it's been such a blast to try him out and learn stuff with him. And I figured I might as well just give an insight a little bit on what I learned about him, since I usually only stick to Sett as my primary champion. It's like 99% Sett and then like 1% Volibear. That's usually what my rank was. But I figured, hey, I need to add another champion pool. You know, I there has to be something else out there maybe. And for for whatever reason, I kind of landed on Zaaheen. And I think he's just pretty cool looking. You know, he has he's Darkins. Darkins are always cool. I can't play Aatrox. He's too. I think Aatrox for me is just too boring. He's fun to fight. Aatrox is fun to fight, but I can't play. I can't play that character. It's just not my playstyle. However, this one is. This one is a nice. It's a nice mix of auto attacks and abilities. He has a bunch of healing. He has a bunch of built-in damage. And he's just a nice flavor. He's a nice different flavor from stuff, and a lot different when it comes to laning phase and then team fighting. So let me tell you guys a couple things really quick, because my first like experience with trying to build this character was a bit bizarre. I think initially I was building Winter's Approach, and to me this item seemed really good on this character since it just gives a bunch of health and mana, a bunch of health, mana, and then Zaaheen can proc it with he can proc the passive with both his Q, like the second Q, and his W. So you have two ways to consistently proc it, and obviously you get really tanky. Another reason is that his Q restores maximum health, right, up to I think 9%. Yeah, 9%. And you know, the more health you have, the more you're gonna heal, obviously. And I figured it'd be okay since Zaaheen actually gets a bunch of free AD from his passive, which also, you know, it just lets him do damage without having to actually build damage, is what I initially thought. Now, the only thing is that, like, this item, and, like, you'll never, like, finish this thing in lane and then have it, like, fully stacked, right? It takes about, like, I think 15 minutes plus for this thing to actually activate, and by then it's like you could have bought any other item and got like the full value already. Not only that, because you're not building attack damage early game and you're relying solely on your passive, it's really only good to Conqueror, and even then it's like you're losing out on a bunch of damage from literally any of the other stuff. So it's really hard to kill people, but you are incredibly durable, but you just, it's so hard to kill people. And I didn't read his passive right off the bat. I thought it worked like Darius, where he kind of got like flat attack damage, but that's not the case. He gains percentage attack increase. So the more AD you buy, and the more AD you have, the more AD you'll get, and that doubles too. I didn't realize it doubled as well. So if you build a bunch of AD, it's super good. And one of the problems though is that when I stopped building Winter's Approach, I had a bunch of issues with mana. And I thought to myself, okay, what part of it though am I having issues with? Like, which part specific? Is it just like laning phase part, or is it something else? And I think in lane, or at least for me, his mana is actually pretty reasonable. His things are really low cost. I don't think they increase with yeah, they don't even increase with levels, so they're pretty like low cost and they're kind of just chilling. The biggest problem is kind of like Trundle, where Trundle, his Q is like super cheap, but because you're using it constantly to push the wave up, you're gonna run out of mana really fast. And then for Zaaheen is the same thing, except for him it's even worse, since the fact that his sustain is tied to his Q. So if you're not Qing in lane, you're not healing. Thankfully the second Q doesn't cost anything, and the rest of his abilities compared to Trundle, they don't really cost much. I mean, 50-40, it's pretty reasonable. But since these are much lower cooldown than Trundles, you're gonna bleed through mana way faster by just pushing the wave up. You know, like that's your biggest problem with Zaaheen in lane, is that your wave clear is like non-existent. Your biggest like thing is just like, oh, press E on the wave and that's it, right? Like that's basically it. Because your W does like no damage unless you're putting points into it, and then same thing with like what do you call it? Same thing with your E. If you're not hitting the edge of it, you're not doing the most damage you possibly can. So we went back to the drawing board. At first I was like, okay, well we need to build something that helps us stay alive in lane, or not even alive, just something that like benefits Zaaheen. What does he want? Well, first of all, we want some cooldown reduction, since these are low cooldown already, but it can get even lower, and we want that because the way you get freaking stacks on this guy is by just hitting hitting people with either the attacks or the abilities. So, but it stacks up to 12 times. You need a lot of attacks in, and if you're just trying to auto people to death, it can get really, really difficult. Since I feel like this character kind of gets like unironically stat checked by a lot of top laners. But this is where the playstyle I was talking about is a lot different from Sett. You space a lot with this character. Like, you space a ridiculous amount. It is insane how many people you can just auto for free and then they can't hit you back. You can auto, because I think this gives you a little bit of range, if I'm not mistaken. Let me hit X here. Just be confirmed. Yeah, so it gives you just a little bit of range, but that really matters a lot since you can poke people pretty reasonably with it. And more importantly, your E also lets you like get a couple of chip damage in. So you're easily able to trade people like that without being hit and restoring some of your health. It's super fun and satisfying of an ability. And these minions, it's like you're like able to like poke at them and then like run away, and then like boom, boom, like that. And it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool playstyle. But like I said, if you just sit there and try to like auto them to death, you're gonna get your butt beat. Especially like from things like Darius, Volibears, Jax especially. If you hug them, you're gonna die. Alright, heck, even Sett. If you try to hug Sett, you're gonna die. But you shouldn't be doing that. You should just be playing for your Qs, like your auto Q, and then walk away. If they chase you, you can always Q them back. Or if they try like walking away, you can like trick them out like boom, eating to the side there, clipping them, and then running away. It's pretty cool. And I figured, okay, what's a really good item for that? There's two actually. There's an Eclipse, and there's a Sundered Sky. Both of these are incredibly good for trading like that, since this one gives you a shield, and it does a little bit of bonus damage, and this one heals you while also doing bonus damage. These are both really good for him, and I don't know, they're just really nice. Big problem though is that Eclipse doesn't give you any health, but it gives you a bunch of AD. Sundered Sky gives you basically everything you want when it comes to 1v1ing. However, we are still running into the problem where we do not have enough, we don't have wave clear. So while yes, it's good at fighting them, we don't have wave clear. So I'm like, okay, well, time to turn to the freaking Tiamat items. And I'm not gonna lie, he can use like literally all of these. Maybe not perfect. I haven't tried this one yet, but I've tried the other ones. These all feel pretty good. Titanic feels good simply because you can like auto and get another auto reset, which gives you a passive stack, and that really helps you boost up your thing during fights. Really helps. It also gives a bunch of HP, which is peak on this character, and some reasonable like on-hit damage. However, big problem, we are not really building HP. Titanic is really good if you're stacking a bunch of health. So, like if we go like this, for example, you go like Bloodmail, like Sterak, something like that. This is like where Titanic kind of shines because you get a bunch of free HP. But again, we're not really building like that. And more importantly, this does not give us ability haste. Like I said earlier, ability haste feels really nice. This gives 0. Strikebreaker is kind of on the same boat where it doesn't give any haste, but Strikebreaker is a little bit more reasonable since you actually have attack speed, which Zaaheen can obviously, he benefits since he gets a stack every time he autos. More importantly too, that slow also helps you, it helps kite people out. I don't necessarily find myself like needing Strikebreaker to stick to people because Zaaheen's E, once it's low enough cooldown, you can just keep spamming it, You can keep spamming it, you still have your W to pull them, and you have your ult too later on. Not to mention, your Q2 will also help you stick them. So he has a lot of... He doesn't necessarily need Strikebreaker, in my opinion. Maybe if it's a bunch of ranged characters, then yeah, but it's not mandatory like Sett is. I think Sett, no matter what matchup it is, you're always going to need this at some point. So, that leaves us with like the other one. This is the last one. And... It feels pretty good. I think this is probably the first item I will always go on this character. Why? Because it gives you a ridiculous amount of attack damage and a bunch of ability haste. I mean, 15 is pretty neat. On top of that, it gives us the ability to wave clear and a little bit of a nice, like, I guess, quality of life is you do get lifesteal. I don't think Zaaheen needs lifesteal, like, at all, because he can rely on his cube. His cube will always, like, I don't know, it's so good for sustain. However, this has, like, a, you know, it has 12% lifesteal. It's pretty okay. It's nice to have, but it's not the end-all be-all. The thing is, though, later on, this lifesteal actually does matter because of his passive. You know, lifesteal, the more damage you deal, the more you heal. And Zaaheen gets a bunch of AD, like a ridiculous amount. I think it's like, I had games where he's gone like, you know, 300 just on its own. You get your passive up, it goes up to like 400 without even being like fully stacked. And then like if it does stack, it obviously buffs it to, you know, like 580 or something like that. It's ridiculous. And it feels pretty neat. After that, I decided to go, you know, like either Sundered Sky Death Stance. Yeah, boot doesn't matter. The boot is just dependent on whatever you need. It's either going to be plated or it's going to be, you know, marked red. That's it. Those are the only two options I like so far. I don't like Swifties. I don't like. I don't think he needs healing. I haven't tried Ionian boots, but I don't think they're super good. I think both of these are just better. And like I said, they're interchangeable. And then after this, after these like items, I usually just build a Spear Visage here. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. The Spear Visage for the increased healing. So we have a nice little like, I guess, lifesteal build going on here, and it's ridiculously strong. I mean, it's pretty nutty. Let me level up here. Like, there you go. It's pretty freaking strong. So right now we have like almost 300 AD, and if we fully stack our passive here, we can see how much more we can get. 481 AD. That is a ridiculous amount of health, or you know, attack damage, and that is crazy. Oh my lord! So yeah, you hit like an absolute truck. One last thing, one thing about his passive though that I wanted to mention is that the stacks die really fast. They die really fast. I don't know. I feel like it should just be like in combat rather than just, you know, hitting or whatever the heck. Because even if you're getting smacked, if you're not smacking someone back, the passives will, like, you're gonna lose the passive really fast. This matters mostly in the lane, like in the 1v1s, rather than outside the lane. Because in the team fights, there's always someone to hit. But side lane, it's really hard to actually, you know, and especially early, it's really hard to get your passive stack up and then still maintain it during the whole fight. It's really hard. So I don't really usually play for the revive. It's kind of just like a side thing for me. Like, oh, I'm about to hit the revive, you know, frick it, go all in, and then I get my passive, and then I die, and then I come back. That's kind of how I use it. Maybe it's the wrong way to do it, but I'm still learning, obviously. And it feels nice. Another thing I want to mention, though, is that this character, I figured, like, oh yeah, his Q is the thing that's killing people, right? Which is kind of true, yeah. I mean, it does do decent damage. 271 and 221. That's pretty high. However, it's his E. The outer edge E does so much damage. It does an absurd amount of damage. It's max health, and the base, or not the base, the bonus scaling on it is 75 on the outer edge and 50 on the, you know, on the inner edge. So if you hit him like that, it still does, like, you know, good damage. But if you hit him in the edge, it does even more damage. And it's like, what the fuck? So yeah, it's really important that you land this ability. It's not too hard, but honestly, sometimes characters either move really fast or they have like a smaller hitbox or something like that. So I do tend to miss this a lot, and you can really feel like the difference though between, like, oh, if you like hit like all your E's versus when you miss one, it's like, oh man, it's kind of nutty. I think as well, having a haste combined with this E, look, it's 5 seconds. Like, that's like every 5 seconds you're doing like 500 damage done with this thing, like a 500 to 600 damage, and that's without the, again, this is without the stacks, by the way. It just does that much. Like, what is that? That is so ridiculous. Oh, another thing too, this character gets free penetration. He gets free armor pen. Look, what the. So you don't necessarily need cleaver if they're stacking a bunch of armor, obviously, yeah. But if they have like one armor item, it's like, who the heck cares? You can just go, you know, your normal build and you'll still do decent damage. The better thing though is that I found out some funny interactions as well with the Zaaheen's Qs. So one thing is that the first Q, I think applies on hits like 2 times or something like that. And I'll show you what I mean. So, let's say you have Demolish, right? If you auto Q, it'll proc the whole thing for some reason. I don't know why. It just is how it is. And the other thing is, I'm pretty sure. Let's see if I can do this. You can like EQ, right? So if you do the first Q, if you EQ 1, you have to run up and auto them, right? But if you EQ 2, you'll always knock them up. I don't know why that's the case. I don't know if the second Q is further than the first one. But yeah, you will always land the knockup. Now, it is not impossible for the enemy to like not react to it, but it is bizarre that that's how that works, right? This is really good if you're trying to like catch someone off guard, because you can like boom, you can just knock them up, you can knock them up, and there's that. But usually, I'm not gonna lie, usually you kind of just like auto Q, E, auto, and then knock them up like that. That's usually how you do it. The other one's really good if they're running away, but usually you kind of just want to throw in autos for your passive stack, you know. That's how that works. But yeah, that's basically the funny little interaction with that. Oh, another thing too is that no matter what, when this hits someone, it will always pull them towards you. So even if like you hit them and then like for some reason they flash behind you or something like that, you'll just yoink them back. Which is really good to note, because if you W someone, you can always ult in the spot, and you'll almost always land it. It's pretty neat. The ult can get really wonky when it comes to like actually hitting it. The most consistencies I've had was like, W ult immediately, and obviously the Q2 into the ult. That's usually how I'll land it. Because if you try to like throw it out like that, people can kind of just walk like out of it unless they're slowed from something else. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like the ult's actually like a lot harder. Being unstoppable though has saved me so many times, and the damage reduction is actually really good. Like you can do a lot. Also, your ult has a 200% AD scaling. 200% bonus AD. Like that is insane. It does 1,000 damage if you can somehow stack your passive, but usually you don't actually get that luxury. Your ult's like kind of just used to sustain yourself, so you kind of just use it whenever you think it's good, versus like, oh man, I gotta stack my thing up before I ult. That's not usually how you do that. You just ult and then you get all your health back. One nice thing is that I don't know for the last item what to build. Like I bought an ending because like, haha, funny heal, more armor. It's pretty neat, right? But because of the runes I run, which is Grasping and Dying and Jack of all trades, I think for me the best one's probably gonna be something like I don't know, like Endless Hunger or something like that, which gives you Omnivamp, which completes the Jack of all trades, and it also gives you more tenacity and a bunch of haste. So I think this is probably like the best in slot for last one, because it also gives you 65 AD, just like Ravenous Hydra. And again, we said this before, zaaheen loves his bonus AD. It's so good on him. And yeah, I think this is probably like the build. 98 ability haste, 4-second freaking E, 3-second Q. It's so good. It's so nice. This is like, I don't know. This is like heaven, I guess. Oh, I forgot heaven for him. But yeah, this is like heaven for him. Maybe I should be building this earlier, over the Spirit Visage or something like that. But I really like the Spirit Visage healing, especially since if they buy anti-heal, because we have Spirit Visage and Revitalize, you're able to actually kind of counteract the anti-healing with the bonus healing that you get from both of these. Which means that, the anti-heal obviously won't affect you as much. And yeah, it's just pretty new. This is the build I've been running. It feels really nice. The other rune sets have been kind of mediocre. I've tried like all the other stuff. I think boot first item though is kind of like what I like going. Biscuits just help as well with sustain, and yeah, because of like the wave clip from Ravenous, I also find myself not needing to worry about mana, because you can just like E the wave and then like start autoing it, and it usually just kills the whole wave. Versus when without it, you sit there, you're like, oh man, I gotta auto the minion, boom, auto, boom, like each individual minion. It takes forever. But with this, it feels nice. It feels neat. And if I level up to, what do you call it? Oh, I forgot, I don't have the quest unlocked. But look, I have 480 base. Just base. And if I stack this up, oh. Okay, if I stack this up, it's 646. Like, what is this character, man? Bro, look at these scale. Like, what are these ridiculous numbers? Yeah, I don't know. He's been a lot of fun. Definitely a lot more scary to play, though. You really need to space out more compared to Sett. It's a nice flavor. But, I mean, if anyone has any tips for me, by all means tell me. So far, the biggest matchup that I hate is Olaf. I like playing Zaaheen, though, versus, like, Jax. It's actually not that bad. At first, I thought it was really horrible, but it is doable. It is playable. It's not the worst, you know? Other thing is ranged top laners. I like going Hell Blades, but I'm really bad at it. Because, again, I like playing more, like, pokey, defensive-ish. But against ranged top laners, you kind of have to play aggressive, you know? You have to get really creative with your engages. And that really backfires on me, because I'm not used to this character's damage, and I'm not used to what can and can't kill me at times. Or when the heck I can even kill myself, you know? I don't know. But yeah, this has been I just wanted to, like, rant, because it's just been fun. I just wanted to talk about him. Anyways, bye-bye.